We're back with the bigger picture.
Taxman Mary in 3, 2.
They say two things are certain in life: death and taxes. And a British Columbia man says the tax man is killing him. For 13 years, he's been fighting Revenue Canada, and they even forced him to sell everything he owns. But the kicker to this story is it was all a big mistake. Tonight, the incredible story of Irvin LaRue and the tax man. 45,000 strong, a government agency larger than the Department of National Defense and far more powerful. Big guns, armed with pens, pencils, and our tax returns. It is the Canada Revenue Service. And what they did to Irvin LaRue is unbelievable. A story that's become legend in the halls of these tax offices.
I describe their tactics no different than the Nazis in Germany or communist state where you own nothing. They rule. They say exactly what it is, and that's the way it is. You have no rights. I had no rights.
Irvin LaRue has been at war with Revenue Canada for 13 years. He and his common-law wife, Jill Moore, sit behind boxes and boxes of documents he's accumulated over the years. Irvin was living the dream. He owned 2 houses, 2 subdivision lots, and an RV park nestled in the mountains of BC worth $2 million. But it was all taken away because of $1 million mistake by Revenue Canada.
And I thought it was the most beautiful piece of land that I've ever put my eyes on. It was absolutely breathtaking.
Irvin's tax woes began when he was audited in 1996. Unbelievably, an auditor from Revenue Canada took all of Irvin's original business documents from a personal file in his home, only to admit later the documents had accidentally been destroyed.
He told me that somebody had moved the files and apparently put them where the shredding documents are, and somebody shredded the documents.
Irvin says Revenue Canada took no responsibility, and without receipts to show business expenses, it concluded that Irvin owed a whopping $630,000 in personal income tax and $85,000 in GST. Irvin says he was in absolute shock and knew Revenue Canada was wrong.
I told him he was nuts. I don't owe you nothing. I owe Revenue Canada absolutely zero. All my records were in proper order. I filed my income tax on time. I paid my income tax what money was due. I paid the GST where it was due.
And so the battle began. In and out of court, Revenue Canada wanted their money. And over the years, the debt accumulated with penalties and interest to close to $1 million.
They took out a writ to seize and sell all my assets. They listed every piece of property I owned.
That's right. Revenue Canada wanted it all. And the banks, fearing they would lose their investments, started calling in their loans. Irvin lost everything: his houses, his lots, and his beloved RV park.
That was my life. That was my life. That was everything. That was me. You ask me how I felt. My life came to an end. That's how I felt.
In total, Irvin says he lost approximately $4 million in assets and was left virtually homeless.
I no longer have anything to retire with. I don't have it. It's gone.
But this story doesn't end here. In fact, the best part of it is yet to come. In 2005, Irvin took his case to the Tax Court of Canada. And unbelievably, after 13 years of fighting and after losing everything, Revenue Canada admitted something incredible. It had made a mistake. Irvin was right all along. He didn't owe Revenue Canada any money. In fact, Revenue Canada owed him $24,000.
No. I was not happy. And this is how they say, oh, you don't owe us anything? We owed you? I want restitution. I want my stuff back. I want my life. I want my life back. I want my future back. Irvin
thought Revenue Canada would do the honorable thing, give him back what he lost. Instead, This is the shocking thing they told him.
And in the end, you were right. You didn't owe us anything. We owed you. And so the system worked. It sickens me. This is my country, right? These are people who I expect to represent me. And when an error is done, I expect them to say, I'm sorry.
16 by 9 caught up with the Minister of National Revenue, Jean-Pierre Blackburn, to get some answers.
He would like you or the agency to say, I'm sorry.
I cannot say that because we don't know what will be the decision at the end from the court. So, for any minister, it's not a pleasure to see when people feel for 14 years, for 13 years that it seems, for himself he disagrees with what's happened. Any person who feels that our agency doesn't act correctly, you have special procedure to go in appeal and to try to find the solution.
Mr. LaRue is a classic example of the taxpayer being screwed by government.
Kevin Goddett with the Canadian Taxpayers Federation says this kind of mistake is really embarrassing for Revenue Canada.
When individuals are in disputes with Revenue Canada, they should probably assume the benefit of the doubt and worry about taking their money and ruining their lives much later in the process than they seem to have done.
It is appalling cases like this that have forced the government to create a taxpayers ombudsman. Paul Dubé, a former Ottawa defense attorney, was appointed 15 months ago to help in these sorts of disputes and report to the minister about possible policy changes. Since starting the job, he's made some astute observations.
I think that the CRA has some problems sometimes in communicating with taxpayers and making them understand what's going on. And also there are some difficulties, some obstacles for taxpayers in communicating with the Canada Revenue Agency. Those are the types of things we're looking at and we'll be commenting on in the annual report.
And as for Irvin LaRue, the fight is not over yet. He has been forced to file a lawsuit against Revenue Canada to try to get the millions he's lost back. He admits despite being vindicated, Revenue Canada has left him a broken man.
The saddest part about this is they took 13 years of my life. My dreams are gone.
After our story aired, Irvin LaRue says he received $2,000 in unsolicited donations from people who want to help him fight the taxman.
Next on 16 by 9.
When the mill finally shut down, I think it was a reality check, and it was, what do we do now?
Rather than be victims of circumstances, we have decided to create our own future.
Did you miss something? Watch our show 16 by 9 online at global16by9.com.